Time to watch a murder fish. Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to react to This Fish Has Murdered People by the Octopus Lady. Here we go.
Hi, I'm the Octopus Lady, you're watching Alien Ocean, and let's talk about needlefish today, shall we? So I was first introduced to needlefish when I visited Hawaii a few years ago. I was out snorkeling by a coral reef when I saw these strange, long, thin, silvery fish hanging out really close to the surface of the water. And I've barely ever seen fish do that before. I later did a little research into them and found out that perhaps they shouldn't be called needlefish, but
it's a fanfish.
maybe something a little more appropriate, like the bone-piercing murderers of the seven seas.
The stabbing fish.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get the usual stuff out of the way first. So needlefish are part of the phylum Chordata, the subphylum Vertebrata, the giga-class Actinopterygii, which are the ray-finned fishes, and they have fins that look like this. And you might be like,
Giga-class? Chat, what's my giga-class?
Don't all fish have fins that look like that? But they don't. This is a lobed-finned fish. And as you can see, their fins are shaped very differently from the ray-finned fishes. But that's a whole other video. I'm getting a little off topic here because I want to point out that Actinopterygian fish make up 50% of all currently
That's
living
a word
vertebrates.
I cannot say.
Did you know that? Because I didn't know that. No wonder it's called a giga class. Anyway, needlefish are then found in the normal class, Teleosteae, then the order Balaniformes, and then finally the family Balanidae. I don't know how to pronounce these two words. And fun fact, the order of Balaniformes also includes the flying fish. You know, the fish that fly out of the water?
Oh, these are cool. These are so cool. You know you can eat these?
Just something to keep in mind. Anyway, needlefish are found in the tropics and subtropics of the Atlantic,
Don't ask me how I
Pacific,
know.
and Indian Oceans. They're found both out in
I go into the ocean, just go, ah, and the fish just flies in.
the open sea, as well as closer to shore. And unlike many other fish, they hang out almost exclusively near the surface of...
Dude, they are so fucking weird, though. They're super cool. They're just so weird. I mean, they're so cool. Can you have these as
the
pets?
water. Something else to keep in mind. And finally, the oldest fossils we can find of needlefish are 33.9 to 37.7 million years old, making them...
Oh, cool. Old.
Around the same age as moray eels, sacoglossan slugs, frogfish, and coconut crabs. So they're gonna go... here. I guess.
Wait, what are sharks? Are they older than sharks? Are these dinosaur needlefish?
Let's move on. So... needlefish have murdered people.
Yay!
Sorry, I didn't know how to transition smoothly into this part. They've straight up assassinated them. They have killed in exothermic blood. We don't say cold blood in biology anymore because it's an outdated term. I don't know if anyone's going to get this joke. And there's two big reasons why needlefish have caused people to sleep with the fishes. Almost literally. One is because of their long, thin jaws. The biggest needlefish is the houndfish, and they can get to be up to 1.5 meters long. And that does include their jaws, which can get to be 30 centimeters long. That's like a foot long in measurement.
That's a whole lot of pokey. That's a whole lot of pokey going in you.
More recognizable to us less civilized members of the world. Most
That's a lot of poker.
though, aren't that big and don't have jaws that long, but even with shorter jaws, they can do serious damage, because the other reason they're able to kill people is due to their love of jumping. These bad boys got hops. They can, ostensibly, launch themselves out of the water at 64 kilometers an hour, but I'm gonna be totally transparent. I don't know where this number came from. It's like a...
That's a dart. So wait, you're telling me that you can walk, you be walking on the beach, and then suddenly, just a thing comes flying to your face. I want these as pets. I want them as pets, and I have some people I would like to introduce them to.
It materialized out of nowhere. I kept seeing it over and over again across different papers, but the sources these papers cited didn't...
Wait. Can we get all the women that we talked about in the last video? And can we get, like, all of those, like, call her daddy sort of women and be like, hey, you like beaches, right? You like long walks on the beach. Here, go. And you also like getting poked, don't you? You like long, thick things inside of you. Well, do I have the destination for you?
Say anything about the jumping speeds of needlefish. Like, okay, this article was cited repeatedly as being the source, but I read it like
they're massive
8 times, and it never, not
they're
once,
massive
mentioned anything about how
That's
fast
what she said.
needlefish jump. Another supposed source was this textbook that's over 600
The diversity of fishies. That's how brain rotted I am. I read that as the diversity of fishies.
pages long, and I ain't reading all that, but I did search for the terms kilometers per hour, needlefish, and balanids, which again is their family name, and found nothing. Then this quote-unquote paper from 1950 was cited, and I was like, oh, this has to be the original source, but it turns out this wasn't even a scientific paper, it was a letter to the editor type thing, and it wasn't even about needlefish. It was about a completely different kind of fish called a half-beak. The only explanation
That's a fented out fish if I ever saw one. I keep hearing fishies. Yeah, me too, man. I think we're just I think we might have one of these fish in our brains. Did you ever take a needlefish to the head? Look at his dumb chin. Look at his dumb fucking chin right there. Look at his dumb chin. Is it upside down? No. It's just like an That's a dumbass fish.
Different kind of fish called a half-beak. The only explanation I can find for this number is this one paper that says that we know that flying fish jump out of the water at 64 kilometers an hour, and needlefish and flying fish are part of the same order. Therefore, needlefish jump at 64 kilometers an hour too, which that is not sound scientific.
The reason flying fish can jump out that much is because look at the amount of fins and the dorsal fin that they have, right? The dorsal fin that they have is so much thicker and stronger, which means they can generate a lot more motion and power. This little fucking pencil dick looking guy isn't gonna be able to do that. I mean, it's probably gonna it's gonna be able to accelerate a lot more, largely because of the body shape, but maybe not. Well, actually, no. It's gonna maintain its velocity more because of its body shape. And maybe this one will accelerate more. Something about acceleration and body shapes. I don't know. Do I look like a scientist, chat? Do I look smart to you? Do I look like smart to you? Rad just called me a fish brain. I would take offense, but I think the last 3 seconds just proved it.
Jump at 64 kilometers an hour too, which, no, that is not sound scientific reasoning. Walruses and cheetahs both belong to the same order, and I'm pretty sure only one of them is capable of running at speeds of 90 kilometers an hour. Not to mention that most of the papers I read that referenced 64 kilometers an hour for needlefish were not written by marine biologists, but by physicians reporting on injuries caused by needlefish. And what do they know about the ocean? They spend all their time studying humans. Ugh. I'm pretty convinced at this point that these doctors just made up this number for some reason, and that actual marine biologists don't know how fast needlefish jump, but I can confirm that we do know that they jump fast. And that's all the information you need, really, to explain why needlefish are such stone-cold killers, because if you have a face that looks like this, and you can jump really fast, and you like to hang out near the surface of bodies of water, you're gonna eventually stab someone. People have gotten stabbed in the face, in the eye, in the neck, in the thorax, which I didn't know humans have. I thought that was just an arthropod thing.
That's
in
our
the stomach,
chest.
in the arms, in the legs, and in the butt. And these aren't little pinpricks. They're not tiny, harmless injuries. No,
We found the gay fish. We found the gay fish that poke you in the ass. I approve of the gay fish.
Fish have stabbed straight through people's arms, like in one side and out the other.
Oh,
and they've also
really?
stabbed straight through people's face. One guy was just finishing up scuba diving, so he was floating at the surface, and a needlefish launched itself out of the water and gave him the most extreme facial piercing you've ever seen. The
How
fish
territorial are they?
through the bone in his face, entered the left side of his nose, punctured his septum, exited the right side of his
free septum piercing.
Nose and almost hit his eye. And I'm sorry, I can't get over this, but the fish stabbed this guy so hard, it pierced bone, y'all. Needlefish shouldn't be called needlefish. They should be called bone piercers. Tell me that isn't a much cooler name. Though, to be clear, I don't think needlefish can pierce.
The boner. That's what we should call them. The boner. Have you heard of the boner fish?
Most bones. Like, I'm pretty sure the needlefish that went straight through people's arms didn't go through their arm bones. They just went through the muscle. I don't think their jaws are strong enough to do that. It's just this particular bone in your face is quite thin. But still, bone piercers is such a better name. Needlefish,
Hi,
be
Arthur.
a girl up. I'd be happy to organize this rebrand for you. Anyway, so surgeons had to go in and remove all the jaw pieces from this guy's face, but also had to give all his soft tissues like a really thorough cleaning. Because along with having a needle-like jaw, these fish also have needle-like teeth, which just love to get all up in your muscles and mucous membranes and...
Bro, if they're pulling it back out, it's gonna rip and tear. I like these fish so much. I want to keep them as pets. Can you... Hang on. Can you keep needlefish? Needles in the fridge. Yep, that's what I want. Needlefish. I love how it's... The first one that comes up is in Florida, which we are going to click. Yes, you can keep needlefish in Florida as they are not listed as endangered. Chat, we can keep them as pets. We can train them. Hang on. Can you train needlefish as pets? Holy bejeebus. Yes, it is possible to train freshwater needlefish as pets. No, you cannot train needlefish to kill humans. I'm gonna need evidence of that. I'm gonna need evidence. Okay, chat, here's the thing. I'm gonna start a throne, and the first thing I'm gonna put in there is needlefish, and we're gonna conduct an experiment. If Trump and Russia and China, all those three countries, America, Russia, and China, have actually trained, this is true by the way, they've trained dolphins to find mines, like undersea mines. And yeah, you know, we can do the same thing with needlefish. I would love to introduce needlefish to some friends to some acquaintances, like say the Viper. And if you don't know what that is, refer back to my Tinder story from a while back. But like, hi, I know we haven't spoken for a very long time, but I would like to introduce you to some really amazing things. I will pay you money to come and then she'll obviously do it because she'll do anything for money, and then she'll get stabbed, and I'll... We should probably not put this on YouTube, should we? Nah.
Epitheliums? Are these types of soft tissue? I didn't bother looking any up because humans are boring.
They are. Boo, humans.
You're in a lot of trouble. Needlefish are carnivores, so they're always eating raw meat, basically, which makes their teeth putrid. And that's not my opinion. That was a word I saw in a couple different articles about needlefish.
Chat, some of you are in the same... Chat, some of you need to brush your teeth a little bit more.
Injuries. They kept saying, these fish have putrid teeth, and their teeth are putrid. And I was like, okay, you can stop being so mean, like, we get it. But I think putrid has some sort of medically significant definition that I'm not familiar with. I don't know, let me know in the comments if that's true, or if these authors were just being unnecessarily mean towards needlefish.
No, I love the word putrid.
Needlefish teeth are... unclean, I guess. If they're left in your soft tissues, said tissues...
Wasn't T-Rex also, like, don't some carnivores nowadays, like, especially T-Rex, well, not nowadays, T-Rex existed a while back, but didn't they say that it mostly killed... Like, if it bit you, right, and it didn't kill you outright, it would have killed you anyway because of the bacteria in its mouth would have been in your bloodstream. Like, I don't know how resistant dinosaurs are, but it doesn't seem like a good time.
can become necrotic. Fortunately, the guy with the most hardcore septum piercing in history recovered from his injuries with no long-term consequences.
I would keep the beak, and I would have a piercing.
Eye to a needlefish, and sometimes worse. A needlefish
They're a pirate
jumped out and
fish.
stabbed a man in the eye, and that also somehow damaged important cranial nerves, and he became permanently paralyzed on the left side of his body. A young boy in Hawaii also got stabbed in the eye, and the needlefish actually went so deep that it punctured his brain and killed him. Another guy got stabbed in the back by
They are so hardcore.
a needlefish, and when he saw a doctor about it that same day, the doctor just sutured up the small wound and sent him on his way, which was to his death because a few hours later he died from internal bleeding. The man's autopsy revealed that over a liter of blood had spilled into his peritoneal cavity and his stomach. Like, I know I've been saying needlefish stab people a lot in this video, but I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. A few articles I read were very insistent on telling
Yeah, chat, poking holes in people is a dangerous thing. Yeah. And some of you are very, very, adept at poking holes. At playing with pokies and their holes.
doctors, needlefish wounds must be treated like stab wounds. They can look small and innocuous, but for all you know, a lung or intestine or superior vena cava have been punctured, and your patient is 2 seconds away from shuffling off this mortal coil. Okay, so to recap, big reason number 1 why needlefish can kill people is because of their face shape. Big reason number 2 is because they jump really fast. But why do they jump? Sometimes they jump because they get startled, maybe by
Everybody jump, 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 jump. Okay, no, sorry. I am what you might refer to as an idiot, so I got triggered by certain words. Really, damn, I'll have to stop doing that. Don't, Arthur, don't. Whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Just make sure that if you're gonna stab people, bury the bodies correctly. Here's what I think you should do. If you're gonna bury something, right? Don't bury it 6 feet under. Bury it 9 feet under, and then 4 feet over it, right? You bury a dead animal. So that when people are like, what's that smell? It's like, no, it's the raccoon I just put there. It's not the corpse. Yeah. And I got that from TikTok, so don't quote me. You can't get in trouble if you're just relying on what you heard on social media.
By a predator or a human going by on a surfboard or something. Another reason they jump is because they're positively phototaxis, which is just a fancy way to say attracted to light. A lot of people who get attacked by needlefish are night fishermen who use flashlights while fishing. Some articles claim that many of these
Chad, they're like me. They don't like the light. I knew I liked needlefish.
These fishermen fear needlefish more than sharks, which makes sense. You're mostly protected.
We need this to be part of the throwing system when I eventually get it. When I eventually am able to be an affiliate and I can get the throwing system, we can throw needlefish at me. Rad, mark it down. Mark it down. We can throw needlefish at me. And we'll have one of them like stick into my ear or something.
From sharks if you stay in your boat, but that isn't true about needlefish. But easily the most interesting reason why needlefish jump has to do with hunting prey. So needlefish like to hunt bait fish that hang out near the surface of the water.
I'm actually going to make a note of that.
Like small species of fish that stay together in schools for protection. Now, if you're a predator that goes after schooling fish, you have a couple problems to contend with. Firstly, you have to deal with the confusion effect. Basically, if you throw yourself into a giant group of prey and they all start swimming in a
confusion effect anytime I open my mouth and confuse myself.
bajillion different directions, you get confused. You can't figure out which individual fish to go after. There's just too many of them. So you end up catching nothing. Something to keep in mind, though, the smaller a
me when I go to the grocery
is,
store.
the less of an effect the confusion effect has. Secondly, you have to deal with your prey escaping. And if you're hunting prey that hangs out at the surface of the water, they have one of the best escape routes available, out of the water. Lots of small surface-dwelling bait fish will leap out into the air to escape from you. And if you're not much of a jumping fish, well, you can't chase after them. And even if you are a jumping fish, once your prey leaves the water, you don't got eyes on them anymore. You don't know which way they went, and you're not a bird. So if you leap out after them, realize they went this way and not this way, you can't readjust your position midair, so your prey is gone. So this is how needlefish tackle these problems. Almost literally, needlefish will approach a school of fish, often staying at a perpendicular angle to them. This is likely to help keep themselves as unnoticeable as possible to their prey.
So they hunt like I chase women. You just go after them and stay out of sight.
And I'm going to use a pencil to demonstrate my point here.
Because when something basically shaped like this orients itself perpendicularly to you, It's a lot harder to see, right?
Then the needlefish will launch itself out of the water, fly through the air, and then land right into the school of fish. This does two things. A, the prey fish do not jump out of the water when they're attacked from above.
It's like God just stabbed you.
They instead do the exact opposite and swim down, a much less effective escape route and much easier for a predator to chase after. Again, once you and your prey are airborne, if you're not both headed in the same direction, you're not catching that prey. And B, by landing in the middle of the school, the needlefish splits it into two smaller groups. Then it can just pick one of those groups and focus on that, thus reducing the confusion effect. But jumping might add yet more bonuses. The first has to do with distance. One study was looking at a specific species of needlefish, and it was estimated that it had a lunge distance of about 50 centimeters. And lunging is different from leaping. It's when a needlefish attacks directly from the side of a school of fish and doesn't leave the water. But that same needlefish species was seen leaping at baitfish from 200 centimeters away. A jump attack allows needlefish to stay much farther away from their prey, which further decreases their chances of being detected. And finally, jumping may allow them to take advantage of something called Snell's window. You ever heard of it? If you haven't, you might have seen it if you've gone swimming before.
What is Snell?
You know when you're outside on land and you look up, you can see all of the sky, like from horizon to horizon? You ever notice you can't see nearly as much sky if you're looking up at it when you're underwater, even when the water is perfectly clear? Most of your view of the sky is obscured, except for this circle of transparency.
Yeah, because you're underwater. Right?
Directly above you. That's Snell's window. It's a phenomenon caused by how light reflects through water? Or refracts through water?
I think it's
Whatever.
refraction.
I don't care enough to learn the details of this because this is all physics stuff and physics is for nerds.
Wait, it literally says the law of refraction. It's right there. It's right there. It's the angles of incidence and refraction.
But basically, what you need to know is that if you're looking up through Snell's window, you can't see anything above the water if it's at less than a 50-degree angle to you. And while researchers don't know for sure, they think needlefish take advantage of this fact because they always launch themselves out of the water and subsequently land back in the water.
They go through the window and stab you.
Wait.
So they come through the window and stab you through the window, and then they pull you down. They come in through the window, they stab you, they isolate you from your friends, and then they chase you down to the depths of... They are so metal. This is the most metal fish I've ever heard.
Degrees. That means their prey literally cannot see them coming. Needlefish are like the stealth ballistic missiles of the ocean. I think. I don't know how ballistic missiles work. Or if you can make them stealthy. Now, I imagine that many of you are expecting me to say that needlefish skewer their prey on their long, thin jaws, but I'm afraid that isn't true. And I know, that's very disappointing. But, like, think about it, right?
They don't
if
stab?
Needlefish skewered other fish on their jaws, then they can't open their jaws. And they don't have hands, so they can't pull the skewered fish off of them, which means that any needlefish...
Wait, can't you, however, start shaking your head really hard and then you dislodge them? Or maybe open your jaws and rip them apart? Hang on. Sneak through the window, stab you, isolate you from your family. Oh, it's a VTuber fish. Got it. Yeah, Arthur, I wasn't giving you ideas on how to be a terrorist. You're from the UK. You don't need my help. You don't need my help stabbing people.
Who ends up like this is going to starve to death in the most ironic way possible. Instead, once a needlefish is close enough to their prey, they just open their jaws and...
They chopstick it!
Eat it. Like a normal
They
fish.
grab it. They grab it with mouth chopsticks.
Why do needlefish have needles for faces, if not for
It's
stabbing
chopsticks.
their prey? Well, this paper talks about how fish with long jaws kind of do a trade-off when compared to fish with short jaws. Chasing prey takes energy, so the less energy you use to catch prey, the more successful you'll be at survival. Having long jaws gives you more reach, so you don't have to travel as far as a short-jawed fish to catch prey, and therefore, you spend less energy than the short-jawed fish. Long jaws also close a lot faster than short jaws. The trade-off, though, is that long jaws are weaker than short jaws. They can't bite as hard, and the closer you are to the tip of them, the weaker the bite strength is. So, you know, it's like long-jawed fish are optimizing their...
So, having a tip makes you weak? Chat, take notes.
reach and speed stats, while short-jawed fish are optimizing their strength stat. Ugh, I sounded like Tirzu just then. Ugh, gross. And while I didn't read this in
I
any
understood
paper,
that
I
perfectly.
imagine that having a long, thin mouth helps the needlefish be more aerodynamic and hydrodynamic, making them that much more efficient at jumping out of the water.
They
to
do
attack their
accelerate
prey,
better
but
then.
that's just speculation on my part. Now,
It's the
despite
acceleration.
how dramatic all this sounds, I don't want to be out here mongering any fear around needlefish. They're not nefarious, conspiring animals attempting first-degree murder on any human they see. They're not intentionally trying to hurt us. Most of the time when needlefish jump, they're either hunting prey, got startled by something, or it's nighttime and they're jumping towards a source of light. And as near as I can tell, since the 1960s, less than 100 people...
Get it? As near as I can tell? Because they stab eyes. I will see myself out.
have gotten stabbed by needlefish, and most of them were the night fishermen I mentioned previously, and most of them were not stabbed in the face, and most of them seemed to recover without any issues. Dying or becoming paralyzed doesn't seem to happen very often. Also, many of these fishermen were indigenous men from islands like Hawaii or Papua New Guinea, where they traditionally fish in very low-walled boats, similar to canoes, which needlefish can easily jump into. If you're fishing in a boat
shields
with much higher walls,
for
the
these
needlefish
fish.
are just gonna smack into them and you'll be fine. When I was snorkeling with them in Hawaii, I know I poked my head out of the water multiple times when needlefish were nearby, and so did tons of other snorkelers. And needlefish were not constantly launching themselves out of the ocean to impale people in their eyes. And I know that's anecdotal, but if needlefish were a constant and serious threat to people swimming around them, I'm pretty sure local governments would discourage or even close off snorkeling and scuba diving areas that had high populations of needlefish.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Chat, I believe that if there are sharks in the water, you put out a sign that says sharks in the water, and you don't put out the close sign. You just say that there are sharks in the water, and then you let nature take its course. Because some people are just that stupid. Same thing with jellyfish. We have a problem with jellyfish infestations here. We have people that ignore all the signs, ignore the lifeguards, ignore everything. Sharks are cuties. Yes, sharks are beautiful. Dolphins, on the other hand, they can fuck themselves. And orcas. They ignore all the signs, right? All the warning signs and all that. And they still get into the water. And then they cry and scream and sue when the jellyfish stings them. And I think at that point, it's kind of okay to drown those idiots.
So while I desperately want to rename them to the bone-piercing murderers of the seven seas, it's probably a lot better for their public image if they stick with the somewhat less terrifying name.
We can call them
needlefish.
the shankfish.
Okay, so you know earlier when I was talking about those
the Britfish, the English fish,
physicians who seemingly made up stuff about needlefish? Well, I gotta tell you about this amazing documentary called 17 Pages. And it's
Is this
about
an
a
ad?
time some scientists maybe made some stuff up for an academic paper, and that eventually resulted in one of the largest scientific controversies in the 20th century. It all started with an ethics question about a single biology paper, but then, things kept escalating and escalating until it got the attention of national media and US Congress, and it's still affecting the way we investigate scientific misconduct to this day. And oh my god, there is this twist halfway through the documentary that just blew my mind. I didn't see it coming. It was like a sucker punch to the kidneys. It was like being run over by a truck.
Okay.
It was like getting stabbed in the face with a needlefish made of scientific controversy. It's really good! And even though it's made by celebrated YouTuber Bobby Broccoli, you will not find this documentary on YouTube. You will only find it over on my streaming service, Nebula. Nebula
it's
is
okay. I see what you're doing. I see. We're gonna have to cut that out because that was a massive ad, even though it was a very smart ad. Well, let's do a closeout for YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please send this to your grandmother. She might like needlefish too. They are so metal. And I will see you some other time. Bye-bye.